written their questions in, which is a feature that's available. And we'd like to start with one here, also a Jacksonville question from Darren Palter at V13 and the Paltracast. And the question for you, Cody, is there an AEW accomplishment that you're most proud of to this point? And then since that you're now spending a lot of time in Jacksonville, what do you love most about being in Jacksonville? What do you love most about being in the city?
Accomplishment, I'm not always like I am in some of my interviews in terms of I don't really have a braggadocious personality, so I know there are some milestones we've hit that are really special, but one maybe that I've pat us on the back is I'm very excited for the AEW Unrivaled toys to hit shelves. Wicked Cool Toys, Jazzwares, Dana Massey, Mark Kaplan, Nick Sobek. What a just wonderful job on immortalizing the roster and making a product that is for fans, collectors, the hardcore collector, but also the kids who are watching the show, the kids who will play with these action figures, just like I played with my figures and had all my battle royals and things of that nature. That's something, and maybe it's because I'm literally sitting here working on the edit for a piece of content related to it, but that's something that I really am proud of us for doing. And again, I said it on the call, and I don't want to harp on it, but the shows that took place in the Nightmare Factory, me and QT Marshall's wrestling school, which is not affiliated with AEW, but we happen to have that infrastructure to do those 4 shows in. I was so proud. If you've ever seen the movie The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, it felt a lot like that. There were so many young men and women who stepped up. A lot were in enhancement matches, some were in very competitive matches, but to see them and to get to know them was special. All of them. I tried to list as many as I could in a social post the other day, but some of them won't be replacements moving forward. Some people in this dark time, their bright spots and some contracts might have been handed out, things of that nature, but I was very proud of those shows, the Nightmare Factory shows, and I'm very proud of the AEW Unrivaled toy deal with Jeremy and Wicked Cool Toys. And in my rant, I forgot if there was another part of your question, so if I didn't answer it, I apologize.
Well, we're good. We'll move on so that we can get as many people in as possible. So next up, I'd like to introduce Stu Myrick from KTXXFM. Stu. Stu, are you there?
Stu, you need to unmute. There you go.
There we go. Now we're good. Damn technology. Cody, greetings from the mighty ATX.
Hey, buddy.
Quick question. Is there an adjustment that AEW has had to make in light of COVID-19, in light of the pandemic, that you could see carrying forward when we get back to some semblance of normalcy?
I think it's an adjustment that a lot of businesses probably have seen the same one that I'm going to identify. It's wrestling. If you've ever been backstage at a wrestling show, everyone shakes everyone's hands. There are different reasons, and it depends on who trained you. They'll tell you why. I was always taught they're picking you up. It's their responsibility to put you down and send you home to your family safely, whatever it may be. But the handshaking aspect and that type of physical nature may be something that is passé. I was talking with Colt Cabana about this the other day. It's disappointing not to be able to shake hands and hug and things of that nature, but if it prevents this virus, if it prevents it from moving to one person to the next, then it's a measure that should be taken, and perhaps something moving forward, handshaking is not as prominent as it was in wrestling. So that's one in particular. And on top of the litany of, if anything, also, we have now a whole new chapter in AEW history with crisis management and how we handle this. God forbid another pandemic presents itself, or perhaps there's a pandemic on, the forefront and something that's been forecasted. Well, we can do our best as a company to make sure we're practicing the best practices to prevent it and do things safely. We all were handed COVID-19 pretty much with no clue what to do. I think we're a little bit more prepared in crisis management as a company.
Thanks both. Chuck Carroll from CBS. Chuck, are you with us?
Cody, my question is, what if, God forbid, somebody in the company does unfortunately test positive right now for COVID-19, the coronavirus? What steps are in place? What measures are there in place that would ensure that you all would be able to continue moving forward?
That's a great question. The testing is done under quarantine measures. You have scheduled out blocks for the testing, and team medical is the very first individuals to be tested. So there is no cross-pollination. We don't have, because they're not done at Daly's place, they're done under the quarantine measures, meaning if you were to test positive, you would then get the nose swab test to confirm the positive, or perhaps it was a false positive, but you would not be in proximity to any of the talent, to any of the crew. They've also separated. The crew has their testing measures are done elsewhere, and the talent testing measures are done elsewhere. So those are also two locations. It's been a lot about spreading out per our, dual doctor role, and we also have multiple doctors because you then could cross-pollinate potentially if there's a positive on a test. So we have it set where it would not shut down the production. And I am absolutely not rooting for a positive test, but we do need to keep in mind, and UFC just went through this, we're testing everyone who comes into our bowl. Everyone who you can see with your own eye. So if a positive test was to come forward, well, it would just indicate that the testing does work and that the measures need to be taken. We, however, have been incredibly fortunate to have no positive tests. Hopefully we have no positive tests moving forward, but doing them under quarantine measures, according to Doc Michael Sampson, as some of you may know, he's been in the wrestling industry quite some time, has been the right call for everybody.
All right, thank you. Emily Pratt from Uprocks is next. Emily.
Oh, sorry, I have the same question about someone testing positive.
You got another question? You want to come up with something?
Let's see.
What's your favorite? I'll ask you a question. What's your favorite energy drink?
Oh, probably Red Bull.
Just a Red Bull, huh?
Yeah, very basic.
I'm digging that. My favorite energy drink is the Bang, and I have my fridge has a bunch of peach mangoes in it at the moment, so that's where I'm sticking. Now I'm trying to break off of caffeine like this, in terms of the super creatine Bangs and the C4s, and I'm trying just to go back to black coffee, or perhaps even like the extract, the green tea extract, just because we're the guinea pig for this aspartame generation, and I don't know if these things are going to be any good for us 20 years from now. But hey, I got a lot of respect for a Red Bull person. It gives you wings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Emily and Cody. We're going to go to the to the emails here, the text questions to the AJ Awesome Show. AJ would like to know, Cody, if there are any advantages, anything that's been like a positive of having shows without fans in attendance.
I mean, I think the overlying advantage is that you're really tested as a performer and a competitor. How do you tell this physical story with no fans to help you, with no background music to ride? So that's been a positive. But to be frank, there really hasn't been any other positives in terms of we very much miss the fans. We miss each other. There is a need as a wrestler for a fan, and hulking up. Every aspect of a really good wrestling match and the psychology of it, it depends, and I know there are different flavors, but wrestling depends on the crowd, and depends on one another. So we're now working for this crowd that's at home, and we're hoping and we're guessing and things of that nature. But mainly, that positive has been becoming a better performer and a better wrestler. But overall, I can't state how much I miss it on a personal level, and I know the locker room misses it on the fans, and hopefully we can have them back soon.
Fantastic. Next question is from Zach McGibbon from TSN. Zach, are you there?
Thank you all. I just wanted to ask a question surrounding Mike Tyson in terms of how he was able to come in. You mentioned earlier that about 90% of the card had been planned out before the pandemic. Was Mike Tyson part of those original plans before the pandemic hit, and how did that deal come together with Mike Tyson?
Mike Tyson is actually somebody that we met as a company at Double or Nothing last year. And over the course of the year, we've come to really respect him as a fan of what we do, and he's a hardcore AEW fan. I would say, though, that's one of the last touches that was put on Double or Nothing in terms of who will be the one to present that championship, and someone with a element of prestige, and that is what Mike is there to do Saturday night. Hopefully he will be handing it to me, but he is there to hand the championship to Lance or myself, and it's been fun to get to know Mike over the past year.
Thanks, Cody. Next, we've got a question here from Michael Shalik from SEScoops.com. Comes in from the text. Will we see the TNT Championship belt before Saturday night, Cody?
Well, I haven't seen it. Dang it. Things leak in wrestling. You never know. I know there are some, as we kind of go over and a format, this wonderful show, which we hope is the best AEW show to date. There has been talk of potentially it being seen before, but I think my personal preference would be to see it live for the first time when it comes out of the bag. Not unlike how Bret Hart presented Big Platinum in the AEW World Championship. So I would lean towards you're not going to see it yourself until I see it for the first time, but you never know.
Fair enough. Okay, we're going to go back to the text line here. Lewis Brown from Hooked on Wrestling. He's got a question. We've seen a lot of new stars come to AEW, but who on the roster currently on the mid card do you see as being the next breakout main eventer?
Oh, well, I mean, the answer is not an answer I like giving, but I think everyone sees the same thing. MJF is destined for something incredibly great. He truly is. He's a very different type of wrestler. Is a very adaptive type of wrestler. I look at what him and Jungle Boy have on Saturday as a snapshot of the future. They're both growing, physically. Wrestling's a physical company, and we, wrestling physical business. We have so many light heavyweights, but to see them train as hard as they do, to eat properly, they're both putting on good, drug-free, healthy size, and they're both expanding their game. They're not even near their prime. Jungle Boy is somebody. Sammy Guevara every week has done something on television that has made you want to look into Sammy Guevara more. I don't know why it's all the bad guys, but Sammy, incredibly special. If you have Sheeta's another person who could break out. The fact that she's really diverse, and if you check out her social media, it's the definition of wholesome in terms of a worldwide, global star. Wardlow, I'm going to sit here and name every wrestler we have because I really believe in a great many of them, and whether friend or foe, and Max is definitely not a friend, it's my job. It's my job to present, you use the term mid-card, that entire mid-card, as they're not stuck in the mid. They're climbing to the top. With Darby Allin, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Darby. This incredibly smart, growing as well. It's just a very special, there's potential for a great many people to slip into the main event, especially with a ranking system. You take a look at Best Friends potentially slipping into the number one contender spot based on their buy-in. Trent Beretta alone, though, is a really stout singles wrestler and somebody who could break out and be a legitimate contender. There's a lot of options, and that, I hope, is a sign of a great company, and I hope guys will meet those challenges when they arise.
Thanks, Cody. I've got a couple more here that are coming in on text. Next one comes from Daniel Wood from Sportskeeda. Creatively, is there anything you, Cody, or any of your colleagues have attempted only to realize it just doesn't work in an empty arena setting or without an audience?
It's a great question. I mean, there are things that maybe not work isn't the term as much as maybe aren't personal flavors, but there's been an aspect of experimentation. One example is the microphones. So people will ask you, why do you got a microphone? There's no fans. Well, the microphones are actually for the cameras as well. Lav mics are available and stick mics. So that's something that's been kind of always, I sit back on the shows I'm not wrestling on and a little bit of a sticking point. Like, why do we need these mics? But then when you take away the mics, you can't hear what anyone is saying unless you lav mic them. I'm getting very technical here. But one thing we have been fortunate to have is we do have the boys and girls on the roster there in the crowd, and they're obviously they're all industry folks, so they're the most jaded audience you could get. But to be able to move them in any way is actually a great barometer of how things are going in the ring. So we've not had to just have crickets or silence because we've been able to have the boys and girls in the seats, at socially distanced and things of that nature, and with masks. And again, everybody is tested, but that's really made it so that we're not just dealing with utter silence, and that alone scares me half to death. I mean, that's the wrestler's nightmare is silence. So that's one thing. The only thing to really answer your question that I get a little iffy and sticky on from time to time is our use of microphones when we have no main large mass gathering audience.
Okay, great. Thanks, Cody. Let's see, we got Richard Jones from Fox Sports Rochester. Any word on the talked about second show in Rochester?
Oh, we're gonna make it to Rochester. We're gonna get there. I really like something that we've done in terms of shows have not just been canceled. Almost every show that we've lost has been postponed. So you'll probably in the next, I'd say, 2 weeks, see some new presented dates with potential shows. And I'm hoping, everyone has their own theory and speculation, and everyone's an expert on when fans are going to come back and when they're not going to come back. But I would tend to think sooner than later if we can do it. And maybe there is, a small gathering, and there could be limitations to it all. But Rochester will for sure happen. That was a show we were really, really looking forward to. I particularly wanted to see Brody Lee in Rochester just because I know that's his hometown. So it's not something that's going to get pushed very far on the back burner. The only live event plans that might take further to replace or renew is any international live event plans, because that we're just like everybody else, we're waiting for when the borders will open up and how the borders will open up.
I got one more here on text that I'd like to share with you, Cody. This comes from Christian Hubbard from the Illuminati. His question is, Broken Matt Hardy will team up with the Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman this Saturday, collectively as the Elite. Is Hardy an official member of the Elite, and what do you hope that he accomplishes in the company?
Matt Hardy is wonderful. Last night I got the privilege to sit outside and just have a beautiful view of the Jacksonville waterfront with Matt, and to hear him tell stories to some of the younger guys, and really special veteran who is, not unlike my brother, is able to continue to go. It's really great having his presence. As far as the elite is concerned, I'll go ahead and say it. It's probably the most controversial thing on this call, and I don't mean it to be. The elite, more than anything, is the original, the OG, and that being Kenny Omega and Matt and Nick Jackson. That's the heartbeat of it all. Those guys are glue, and they do everything individually together. And they're, I mean, look at it. Kenny was PWI's Wrestler of the Year last year. Matt and Nick Jackson, I don't know how many tag team accolades they've won. Incredibly polarizing figures, but they're polarizing because they're damn good. That's the elite. And then you've got kind of the expanded universe elite, and Hangman Adam Page and Marty Scurll, Brett bless his soul. And I would assume that Broken Matt is trial by fire here as someone who's under the elite banner. I'll tell you on a personal level, the reason I go so hard on the Nightmare Family and the jackets and everything is out of respect for the elite. That's their world. It's an honor to have been selected to be part of it, and to have been with those guys. We're a family, and that's very, very special. But at the end of the day, the OG will always be the OG elite will always determine who is elite. Kenny, Matt, and Nick. And I think Matt gets what would you call it, a battlefield promotion, perhaps, to the elite.
Thanks, Cody. And I just realized we're at 45 minutes. So unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up. It's been fantastic. Cody, thanks a million for your time. And on behalf of Tony Khan, Cody, and all the executive vice presidents, everyone at AEW, thanks for joining the call today. Per our custom, we'll be distributing an audio copy shortly. So be looking for that. And obviously, if you have any questions or comments, you know how to reach us. So again, thanks a million for everything today. We look forward to connecting with you on Saturday night for Double or Nothing, and wish everyone the very, very best to you and yours, your families, your loved ones, and all that during these times. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Saturday night. Thanks, everyone.